Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to another video. So in this one here, I want to talk about episode 3 and 4 of season 1 as a part of my Walking Dead rewatch series that I have begun. This one is a little bit late, so I apologize, but I'm still on track. The episode 5 and the finale for season 1 will be coming out tomorrow. So yeah, I can't believe that. We're already done season 1. I mean, I guess there's only 6 episodes and I am doing 2 episodes a week, so that makes sense. It's just, yeah. And I do want to say I'm really enjoying the rewatch. I'm actually really enjoying watching these episodes right now. I think it's just a lot of fun comparing the show now to the way it used to be. And there's a lot of pros and cons. There's a lot of things that they've actually changed that I do think make the show better now. But there's obviously some things that they don't really do anymore that I think that if they did, the show definitely would be a lot better. This episode begins with Merle going crazy on the roof. And I do want to say that this is probably my favorite, or one of my favorite Michael Rooker scenes in The Walking Dead. And it's just it's so weird to me that he feels like such, I don't know, he's a new character. Like, this guy here is a new character. You don't know who this guy, like, we know him as Merle Dixon now. We know the whole thing, he's Merle, he's Daryl's brother. He's this cool character. But back then, he was just so outrageous and just what Merle was, right? Or I guess he did kind of redeem himself. He changed a little bit before his death, but he was just so out there. And the thing is, he actually felt like a real person, a real character, because I know a lot of people like Merle Dixon, and I also know a lot of people that are like, all the other characters. I know people like that in general, the way that, Rick responds to Merle on the rooftop and things like that. It's just organic, and I don't know what it is. I don't know why we don't have characters like Merle Dixon anymore. He is such, and I don't know, maybe it's Michael Rooker. Maybe it's because it's his performance. He gives a very captivating performance. And right away, like, as soon as you see him, you don't like this guy, but you kind of like him because obviously he's creating conflict. He's kind of a villain a little bit, and so he's interesting, right? Because he's creating all this conflict, you want to see how our characters are going to deal with him. And because he has a brother at the camp, which is what we learned here in episode 3, now this has created drama, right? This has actually created drama within the group. This new guy, Rick Grimes, and I guess a couple of others left him on top of the roof. We have T-Dog who dropped the key, sadly. I feel so bad for him. Oh my God. Imagine being the person that lost the key in a situation like that. Like, poor T-Dog, man. But Merle just works really well. Like, I love the scene where he's just like, I ain't begging you, or no, I didn't beg you before, I ain't gonna beg you now, kind of thing. He's an original character. He's not a comic book character. And I do think this is what is missing from the show right now, is that we are following the comics too closely. Although not as much lately, like for sure not in season 9 and 10. There are things here and there that obviously we borrow. We borrowed or not we, but they've used the Whisperer idea, certain moments from there, but how the characters get there, everything else is all different. There is a much more, I don't know why I want to keep saying organic, but I guess no, original, sorry. There is more originality to it, which I think actually works really well, because I'll talk about it more in my next video, because that does recap all of season 1, but most of season 1 was original. It's pretty crazy to think about, but most of it was original. I'm not saying it's bad to borrow ideas from the comic, but I think when you do certain things, it does make things a little more not real world. Like I guess how I would phrase it is The Walking Dead in season 1 and 2, and kind of the first couple of seasons, but mostly I guess when Darabont was there, it really was like Breaking Bad. You know how Walt and Jesse, they feel like just real people, and just like in like these real world situations. It was like Breaking Bad in the apocalypse, which I know they're trying to say like, or it's not really official, but they're trying to say that they're in the same universe or whatever, but still. And now it doesn't feel like that as much, but I will talk about that once we talk to Daryl, because this was his first episode, and the first person to actually mention Daryl ever, I'm pretty sure, was Morales. I don't think we heard Daryl's name in episode 1 and 2, definitely not in 1. I don't think we heard it in 2. I could be wrong about that, but in this episode, I heard Morales say Daryl, and I was like, oh, he's the first person to mention Daryl, because I never knew that this character existed. I think Rick actually asked afterwards, like, who's Daryl, or something like that. So, also one thing, and it's kind of a minor thing, but when Shane mocks Laurie's voice, kind of in the beginning of the episode, I don't know why, I cringed so bad. I think it's because his voice changed so much. It went so high. As soon as he did it, I was just like, I don't know, it was a tiny little thing. But let's talk about the reunion, because every single time I watch the scene, there's the tears come to my eyes. It is just, it's such a, even more so now because I know who Rick is, I think, because I know what the character stands for. And so looking back at that moment, it just, because he's lost both of them now, which is super sad, but then he didn't. He was looking for his son and obviously his wife. And I think because I'm a father now, I get it. I really understand it so much more. And even then, when I watched it back then, I still understood it. It still hit me, but it's just such a powerful scene. I've rewatched the scene. I don't even know how many times in my life, like over 100, around 100, maybe around there for sure. And it's also just the actors' performances in this scene. It's like Shane's eyes when he's seeing Rick. When he sees Rick walk up, he's just like, what? Like he's, like that's all John Bernthal there. He sees Rick walking up, and I don't even, honestly, in this moment here, I don't think he's really thinking that much of, oh, wait, I'm with Lori now. I don't think he's thinking of all that. I actually think he's genuinely happy and shocked that Rick is here. I think he's in disbelief. And I think afterwards, when he sees Rick with Shane, or Rick with Shane, like when he sees Rick with Lori and Carl, I think that's where he starts to get a little jealous, but I think he's still so happy to see that. And I do think all of that is completely genuine. And I think he has a hard time getting over certain things. And we'll talk about more of that in the finale for season 1, because this is where things definitely take a turn for Shane. But yeah, the reunion scene, it's the music, the fact that it was built up over the last couple of episodes. And it happened pretty early on. This wasn't a reveal saved for the finale of season 1. This just happened in episode 3 because it was a part of the story, right? It was just like they didn't save that big of a moment for the finale, which is, I feel like, is something that would happen right now. Not as much with Angela Kang. Big moments like that don't happen, but that was kind of a thing with Gimple, I would say. There would be a lot of these emotional moments that would be saved for like the mid-season premieres or mid-season finales, season premieres or season finales. I kind of like that it just happened in episode 3. It was just something that it's a part of the story for the first season, and I think it just works really well. You're not really trying to make big moments out of like finales and stuff like that. Obviously finales and premieres, they're going to be big. Actually, I would argue that premieres shouldn't be that big. I actually think that's bad. I think premieres should just set up the season. I don't think it should be anything that big, but yeah, I don't know. I can talk about this forever. All I want to say is that I really like this scene, and it definitely, like I said, it brings tears to my eyes every single time I watch it. It's such a powerful moment. And in the story of Rick Grimes, it obviously is very monumental, I guess you could say. There was a campfire scene, and they were all talking about, or I guess they were worried to tell Daryl about Merle. And this is where the conflict comes in the episode, is, we're back here, we're safe. Technically, we don't have to leave here. We can just all stay at this camp, which actually, hilariously, we know a lot more about the zombie apocalypse now. That was such a bad plan. They all could not stay at that camp forever. And we do learn later on, obviously, that people are the real threat of the zombie apocalypse, but they didn't really know that then, right? Because this was only a month in. People weren't that crazy yet. They thought, okay, let's just stay at this camp and we'll, they were up more on hills and stuff. There was no zombies around really until there was, obviously, because things like that are just going to happen. But the conflict in the scene was, yeah, how do we tell Daryl about Merle? Because that is, I don't know how it's going to go down. I do have one question for you guys, and you guys can answer down below, but who did Lori want? Did she want Shane or did she want Rick? In my opinion, it seems at times that she wanted Shane, but I do think she wanted Rick. As much as Lori, there's things about her later on in the series that definitely, I don't want to say pissed me off. I think a lot of things that characters have said pissed me off, to be honest. Rick has said things that have pissed me off. Daryl has said things that have pissed me off. And I love that about the show, that they don't make all the characters likable completely. There's bad sides to their personality. But that could just be for me, like whatever Rick or Daryl said might not piss off some of you guys. But Lori, for me, she kind of pissed me off quite a bit. I still like her though. But I do think regardless of that and how she was treating Rick, she still liked Rick, I think. I don't think she was that much into Shane, to be honest. I do think Rick and Lori don't really work as a couple. And I think Rick was trying to make it work so much that it was just so impossible. But yeah, just let me know in the comments down below. One thing that was interesting was Rick and Carol's first ever conversation on this show. And that was Carol washing Rick's clothes, and Carol was just super thankful. Like, wow, you washed my clothes and now you're ironing them? I'm pretty sure she was ironing them, right? Or holy crap, why can't I say that word? Ironing them, right? I think I actually said it. I was just getting really doubtful that I was saying it. Anyways, yeah, that was interesting though. One thing that was really hilarious was that all of our groups, I think they had weapons and sticks and stuff, but they were all attacking one zombie. And it's just so hilarious because they're all whacking the zombie, not even in the head. Just they're hitting its back, constantly hitting the back. And I'm just like, I can't even believe this is a scene. This is so ridiculous. Like, I guess that's just a thing with zombie stories. Most of the time, anyways, they've never heard of zombies. You've never heard what to do. Besides Daryl. Daryl knew. And I love that they had that line in there. Daryl, like that's Daryl's first appearance. He walks in and he's just like, son of a bitch, that's my deer. And then, yeah, he taught them all. He was like, don't you know, you got to aim for the brain. I just love how he like walks away after and Rick's just looking back like, who the fuck is this guy? Like that is Rick and Daryl's first ever interaction is that, which is amazing when you cut back to stuff in season 4. And I can't wait to get to that point. But when you get that far in the series, like they're brothers at that point, you know, like they're united, they are together. They then finally tell Daryl what happened to Merle, and actually like this proves how tough Daryl is at this moment because it takes Rick and Shane to take him down. And that's just the thing about Daryl at this point. When you watch him in this episode, and I do recommend you guys go watch this episode or at least the scenes with Daryl, I can't believe how much he's grown as a person. And I also think a little bit is just too unbelievable. I don't think someone like Daryl, at least who he was in season 1, would be exactly who he is today. I just don't see it, especially in the circumstances that they've been through. I don't see Daryl being as soft as he is now. Like certain parts of it make sense. He does hide away from his feelings, things like that. And I think that stuff, it makes sense with the character. But he is so polite and caring and all of these things that I'm like, Daryl wouldn't be like that. You know, it's really hard to change a person, you know, when after they're like 25, 30, 35. Like, no, it's not that hard. The older you get, I think it is harder to change, obviously. But I don't believe that Daryl would change that much. I mean, it has been 10 years, but Daryl's been this way for a very long time. So that's like he was like this around All Out War, and that was 2.5 years into the apocalypse, and he was already like that for a while. So I just can't believe how much Daryl changed. And I just think that's all because he became such a popular character that they wanted to make him more like Rick and not be so unlikable. He was different than Merle, and he did deal with a lot of things in season 3, and you can see a lot, like you can see that side to him change in season 2 when he got the Cherokee Rose for Carol, and you see things happen throughout the seasons. I just think that there should be little things that still resemble season 1 Daryl, and as of now, there's not really anything that resembles that character. I mean, to be honest, I want more personal stuff with Daryl. I want him to open up about some stuff about Merle and his life growing up. I want to learn more about this character. I don't like the fact that as of now, it's like we already know everything about this character. Let's just focus on his life going forward. Maybe Connie will open him up. You know, that would be perfect. Right there, that's a perfect opportunity to do that. Let's just see more things. Let's get a flashback with Merle if you can do it. Like, or maybe with his father. Cast someone as Daryl's father. Do a scene like that. I don't know. I would like to learn a little bit more with Daryl. I wish he was a little bit more like his season 1 self still. Like, just not so perfect like he is right now. Just, you know, he has these issues. He's working on them. You can see he's a good person, or at least that he's human, right? But then we get to the frog scene, and yeah, that's also another thing that they don't really do anymore, which is it adds, that's what I mean. There's little things. Obviously the story is still really amazing. I like everything still. The show it's been the best that it's ever been, I do think, besides the fact that it's not as real or grounded as much as it used to be. Definitely is more so than, you know, a good chunk of the series, but not as much as it was in season 1, because they tell a vibrator joke. Like, they actually, during the frog scene when they're washing clothes and stuff, they actually tell a vibrator joke. They're saying, I miss my vibrator. Like, I could never imagine the show making a joke like that right now. I just couldn't. I really could not imagine the show making a joke like that in season 9 or in 10. Ed is an asshole, though. You know, like, that's also another thing, too. They don't have a character like that anymore where they're just completely an asshole. Maybe it's too sensitive to do. I have no idea. But the way they handled it here made a lot of sense. He was being an asshole, and you just hate this guy right away. I mean, the way he is treating Carol here. Not even just Carol, Andrea, all the women there. And then Shane comes out of nowhere and just knocks this guy out, beats the shit out of him. And yeah, I mean, just perfect. That guy deserved it, especially with what he most likely put Carol through, right? But they eventually get back to the top, and then they realize Merle's gone, and it's like, oh shit, and then episode 3 is done. Episode 4 picks up from this, and this episode is called Vatos. Actually, I guess I should say episode 3 was titled Tell It to the Frogs, and episode 4 is now Vatos. We see Jim digging graves, and it's just like, you know, he's seeing the future, which I always thought this was kind of pointless, and I think I've always cringed when I've seen that, especially the line later on where Jim's just like saying, he's like, now I know why I was digging the holes. It's like, what, are you seeing the future now? I like Jim as a character. I just think the whole digging the holes thing and that is just a little, maybe they're trying to be foreshadowing with that. I don't really know why they did that there in season 1. I wasn't a fan of that. But as our group is coming back, they do run to the Vatos gang because Glenn was taken from them and they're trying to rescue him. And we see the bald guy there from Bruce Almighty, which I thought was pretty cool. I don't know why I recognized him. I watched Bruce Almighty a lot as a kid, and when I saw him, I was like, I recognize that dude. And yeah, that ended up being the case. I think anyways, I could be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure that's the guy from Bruce Almighty. We soon learn though that Felipe's, I believe is how you pronounce his name, Felipe's grandmother saved Glenn. Well, I guess not really, but like he was just chilling in the back and they were helping this dude with asthma. And I love that. Like Rick afterwards is like, can I talk to you? And then he's just like, oh, you gotta be the stupidest son of a bitch, blah, blah, blah. We're gonna come in here, all guns a-blazing and this and that. And meanwhile, they're helping all these sick people. This is why I like the Vatos gang. I do like them. And we did learn later on that they did die. I have to read exactly or watch that scene again. It's a deleted scene from season 2, I think, or season 1. I think it was season 2. It might have been the premiere. After what happens there, they go back, but the Vatos gang was completely wiped out. It could have been from another group or from zombies. That's what I have to look up. But for people who are asking what happened to the Vatos gang, that's what happened. They died out completely. Or maybe some of them lived, but yeah. Also, there was that hilarious scene with Morales where he built up those rocks like just to hide the fire and stuff like that. I don't know why I wrote that down in my notes. I found it funny because he was so proud of himself, but yeah, good job, Morales. And then we get the camp overrun. Our group is making it back finally. They're arriving. They have Glenn. And then we know the fate of Merle, obviously. And yeah, there is an overrun of walkers and Amy dies. And the hilarious thing is that they easily could have saved Amy. Well, actually, not really, but they could have if they reacted fast enough because she just got bit on her arm by Nicotero, hilariously. He was actually a zombie there. If you watch that scene, you could see Nicotero was a zombie. I noticed that and I was like, oh, that's totally Nicotero right there. She did get bit right away on the neck or whatever, but if they were fast enough, I think they could have. But you kind of have to forgive them with that because it was the beginning of the zombie apocalypse. So how are you going to know how to react, right? It just, everything escalated so quickly. It happened way too fast. So yeah, that obviously does make sense. But I really enjoyed episodes 3 and 4. I really did. I would say I actually enjoyed them more so than episodes 1 and 2. Again, I don't want to shit on episode 1, like the premiere or the series premiere. It is a masterpiece of an episode. It's just that right now my interests are on these other episodes because I've watched that first episode a billion times already. I've watched it so much that, you know, rewatching it was still fun to rewatch. There's still scenes that get you, but most of the time I was like, okay, I think I don't even need to rewatch this episode. I can probably just move on because I know everything that happens in this episode already. But tomorrow, expect my rewatch for episode 5 and the season 1 finale. But first, before we do end this video, I do have to ask you guys or answer your questions that you guys posted on Instagram. Q&A, there's a deleted scene from the season 2 premiere which had Rick and Co going back to the Vatos gang and finding it was overrun. Do you wish they had not included that, or do you wish they had included that, or do you like not knowing what happened to them? Well, part of me wishes that, a part of me wishes that they did include it, just because I get those comments all the time. People are always asking what happened to the Vatos gang, and yeah, I don't know. If they would have included it, it would have been pretty simple, but I think the reason, and I don't know if this is the reason, this is just my opinion, but I think the reason why they did it was because they didn't want to show them go back there. They wanted to show them going to a new location, starting something new for season 2. And so I think that makes sense. I think that's why we got what we got. And I do think it was a lot to just get into all of that. Q&A, do you believe that someone was checking up on Rick while he was in a coma? What if he was in an experiment and the reason why we saw the CRM helicopters throughout the show is because they wanted to see how long he was living and if he was still alive? See, like, that is definitely a possibility. That's crazy to happen. That is obviously a possibility, though, because the military was there we do learn that later on. We do learn that the military was at this hospital. They were throwing grenades and all this crazy shit was happening. To think that the CRM were there isn't that crazy, to be honest. I think they could have been checking up on Rick. Someone could have been. But we did get a webisode, and I don't remember exactly what happened, but I know it explained at least some stuff. So yeah, I don't know. Q&A, if you could bring back one character, who would it be? I guess if you're taking from just these episodes only, I would have to say, oh man, it changes a lot. I sometimes I want to say Shane or just other characters, but I would say Merle. He was such a complex character. He was just so, I guess, just what Merle is as a character, that I would say for sure bring back Merle. I think he would create a lot of conflict, a lot of problems, but that's entertaining to watch, right? Q&A, was Amy's death episode or death foreshadowed in the earlier episodes? Not that I remember. Unless you know something, then definitely comment down below, but I don't actually really remember that. To me, I wasn't really sure what was going to happen. She wasn't really that main or that much of a main character. I still find it crazy that Andrea had a sister. I don't know why I forget that. Because she was only in 2 episodes, I believe, 2 or 3 episodes, that you just forget, yeah, Andrea had a sister. Q&A, since we meet the Vatos gang in episode 4 and we now know that they all died, do you think any specific group killed them, like the governor? I mentioned the governor because Merle said he found him soon after he cut off his hand. So do you think it's possible that the governor entered Atlanta, killed the Vatos and took their stuff, then found Merle? That is possible. I can't remember what happened to Merle and how he found Woodbury. So depending on that could totally change that. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think it was the governor that did it, but that is a cool idea. I think there's a lot there that they can actually do. I think you can do so much with a governor or Merle backstory. There is you can make a limited series there, a little mini story with David Morrissey and Michael Rooker coming back to play, almost said David and Merle. Oh wait, isn't his name David? Oh no, that's David Morrissey. That's his name. The governor and Merle. I think there's a lot you can do there. Q&A, I am also rewatching the show for the 5th time, and I used to think Shane was a horrible guy, but now that I'm seeing everything again, I think he was simply just in love with, I think that he was simply just in love with Lori and couldn't let go of that. Also love the videos. Thank you so much. Yeah, I do look at Shane differently now. I used to think he was really crazy and a little obsessive, but I do think he was just in love with Lori. There is obviously still a part of it where he wanted to kill Rick, so it's kind of messed up, but it is the zombie apocalypse. They have killed people. Things were just a little different. Like, situations were different. Had it been the normal world, I don't think Shane would have ever done that. So yeah, I do like Shane, and I can sympathize with him a lot easier. I don't know why I'm having a hard time talking today. I don't understand it. But Q&A, do you think the show would be different if the Vatos were still on the show right now? If so, how would you say it would be different? I don't think it would be different at all, just because they weren't like this incredible group or anything like that. They were helping people out, which is, awesome. But I think a lot of people were, and our group does now, and they still deal with things. They didn't have numbers. They didn't really have a lot of weaponry. I guess they had some, but not a lot to deal with someone like Negan and the Saviors or the Whisperers, or I'm sure there's a lot of other groups out there. So yeah, I don't think things would have changed that much unless they went to go see the Vatos. But then again, if they went there, whatever happened to them, that would have happened to our group too. So Q&A, do you think Merle saying he doesn't beg on the roof was foreshadowing of when he tells the governor he doesn't beg? An episode, actually, okay, so that part I do think most likely was foreshadowing, although I don't think they knew they were going to kill Merle then. I think that was something they probably wrote in Merle's final episode, tying back to this scene here where Merle's like, I don't beg, right? Episode 4, do you think Merle was responsible for leading the walkers to camp? That I don't actually think, because I think it was, why did the zombies actually go to, or why did the walkers go to the camp? I can't even, what happened there? You guys can let me know down below. I'm definitely going to read the comments, and if you guys can let me know, that'd be awesome. But yeah, I can't remember why that happened. I think the walkers just found them. I think that's pretty much it. Last question here, Q&A, episode 4. How do you think the show would have been different if Merle didn't cut off his hand and they rescued him from the rooftop? Well, on that part there, I think then Daryl and Merle would have obviously taken everything at that camp and left. It would have caused a lot of stuff. A lot of people might have died there. I think Merle might have killed Rick, to be honest. I think Merle was going to kill Rick. He never liked him, especially what happened on that roof, the way Rick stood up to him. I think Merle was pissed off there. So I think it would have changed dramatically, actually, if Merle didn't cut off his hand and leave, if they actually found him up there, brought him back. Also, what do you think happened to the Vatos? I already answered that, and Andrea and Amy's parents. Oh, well, they said Andrea and Amy's parents. One of them was saying that Florida might not be that affected. And I think as of now, we know that most of the world has been affected. So yeah, Andrea and Amy's parents, I think, are most likely dead at this point. It's sad, but yeah, I think they are most likely gone, unless they're around. The thing is, even if they are around, we'll never know unless they're gonna pull a Morales move, because that was a little ridiculous. I'm not even gonna get into that here, but yeah, it would be something along the lines of Morales coming back, just something that makes no sense. Like, how would you find us exactly, kind of thing. But which I also should mention that if they did find the Commonwealth and there's this group of however, and there's like this wall of the lost, and then they find Andrea on there, a picture of them, or her, or maybe Andrea and Amy, that's not that ridiculous. Like if Andrea and Amy's parents actually found the Commonwealth, it makes sense that they would put their kids on the wall of the lost. And I mean, if they've survived this long, there's not a lot of people that are even around, so that's not that ridiculous. That's the thing too with this Commonwealth story coming up. Whoever they're going to put on the wall of the lost, the characters that, if their kids, their parents, whatever, uncles, aunts, grandparents, or whatever, you can bring some characters back like that. Like, you can actually, it would be crazy, but you can bring back Rick's brother. He's never been talked about that much on the show, but if you wanted to actually bring him in and introduce that storyline, you can do that here, and it wouldn't be that crazy, because maybe he's been here or maybe he's been here the entire time, right? So post your thoughts down below. Let me know what you guys all thought about the episode. Did you guys enjoy episode 3 and 4? And did you notice things differently upon rewatching it? Hope you guys all enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next episode of The Walking Dead Rewatch.